I know what you're thinking. You've seen this room before, but where? When you look at this image, you might feel a sense of familiarity, but also a sense of emptiness. That's because the image you're looking at is called a liminal space. The term liminal space is nothing new and has crept its way into being a popular buzzword on the internet. It has become a broad term that is now used to describe these weird spaces you may come across. Before we go any further on the subject, I feel like it's really important to define what a liminal space really is. The definition I agree with and see used most often is that liminal spaces are a transitional location between stages of reality, or it's you crossing over a boundary of sorts. The best example of a liminal space that will get this point across very clearly can be found in the critically acclaimed anime movie, Spirited Away. If you haven't seen this movie yet, first, go watch it. Second, it doesn't really matter anyway, as I'm going to explain just one simple scene in it. During the movie, our young protagonist Chihiro finds a temple with her family that prompts them to stop and look inside of it. It's right here that we get our first glimpse into a liminal space. The station that they find themselves in is the best example of a liminal space in mainstream media that I've found. This space acts as the stage between their human world and the spirit world that they are about to find themselves in. This space is empty, it's quiet. So quiet, in fact, that you can hear the water dripping from this fountain. As they make their way through the space, they are literally traveling out of their reality into a new one. This is the general idea behind liminal spaces. These empty transitional spaces seem to manifest themselves into our daily lives without us even knowing it. That drive that you took at 4 AM with your friends through an empty town, that could be considered a liminal space. That abandoned gas station by your house, yup, that's another one. You can even find liminal spaces in some of your favorite video games, specifically those levels that just feel unfinished. An example I've brought up in other videos comes from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on PlayStation 1. During some of the maps, there are times where the music will come to a complete halt. When you play on any of the maps, you expect to hear something like this. But almost randomly, you will instead be met with this. Pretty creepy and ominous without the music, right? Other liminal spaces that I've encountered, which I'm pretty sure many gamers out there can relate to, is when you're using cheat codes to bypass boundaries in a video game. The locations you might end up at in these video games sometimes just feel off. Take this unfinished Kingdom Hearts level for example. You know what's supposed to be there. There's supposed to be enemies to fight, maybe a chest to open up, but nope, there's absolutely nothing. Something about nothing being there drives us as humans crazy, and it's because we as humans crave something known as context. Our brains are hardwired to want to give an explanation to everything. It's the reason when you look at this image, you feel as though the picture is moving. Despite it just being a picture and not a video, your brain fills in the blanks when it can, but with liminal spaces, it can't do that. When you look at these images, your brain can't fathom up an explanation and show it to you. A mall is supposed to be bustling with people. A kindergarten playground should have kids in it. The absence of these ideas drive our brains mad with a sense of emptiness, but because we know exactly what we're looking at, it still somehow seems all too familiar. It's also just a well-known thing that humans as a species just hate being left alone. In fact, the only thing I can think of that humans like to be left alone is their internet service. Which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. A VPN service is much like a liminal space. It's the middleman or stage that protects your information from hackers and leaks that are all too common on the internet. It's super easy to install, and the best part is that it can run on an unlimited amount of devices. If you are a big traveler, then getting a VPN is vital so you're safe on public Wi-Fi and also so you can have access to your necessities like your banking app and social media, which can be accessed by using a VPN in your country no matter where you are in the world. However, if you are a known introvert like me, Surfshark has you covered as it allows you access to the largest Netflix libraries. By simply switching your network to other countries, you can watch all of your favorite shows without having to subscribe to a bunch of different streaming services. So, what are you waiting for? Go get Surfshark VPN by clicking the link in the description below and enter promo code YET for a whopping 83% off, and you'll even get 3 months for free. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Because of them, I've been able to watch SpongeBob on Netflix. Speaking of which, While watching one of my favorite episodes, I noticed that it too contained a liminal space that also tied into the theme of loneliness. In this episode, which I'm sure you are all too familiar with, Squidward, in one of the most relatable episodes out there, just wants some sweet, sweet alone time. Something I'm sure a lot of us can relate to when our social life gets to be too annoying. However, in his venture to get some alone time, he begins using this time travel machine to travel through time, only to have SpongeBob and Patrick bother him no matter what date and time he travels to. He becomes so frustrated that at one point he breaks into this white infinite space. This could be classified as a liminal space because of the unsettling nature that it might bring to you. In fact, this scene as a whole is pretty wild as it tackles the idea of loneliness that I mentioned earlier. Humans don't like being alone. And I don't mean alone in the sense that you're home alone watching TV, because who the hell doesn't like doing that every once in a while? I mean alone like this, completely left to your own thoughts, knowing that no one is ever coming to talk to you again. That idea is absolutely terrifying, and it's why liminal spaces bring on this ominous, unexplainable feeling. As you can see though, even our favorite cartoons show us liminal spaces. We've seen liminal spaces in almost every aspect of life, from real places like empty malls, to video games, to even mainstream media. It just can't be escaped. I bring up this idea of not escaping liminal spaces because it ties so well into my next point on the subject, the back rooms. If you haven't heard of the back rooms before, you at the very least have seen this image floating around at some point on the internet. This image is a prime example of what the back rooms is. A never-ending maze of yellowish empty rooms deprived of windows and people. Originating from 4chan, people began to speculate whether places like this were actually real and if one could find and simultaneously get lost in the back rooms. Pictures and videos of so-called real back rooms have popped up ever since, leading people to believe that finding yourself in liminal spaces in real life could be potentially dangerous. Now, while I personally don't buy into this idea of the back rooms, I do believe that they are a fantastic example of the unsettling nature that these liminal spaces can hold. So what's the point of all this? What is the explanation behind these liminal spaces? How is it possible that we can all see the same exact photo and truly believe that we've all been there before when that just can't be true? Well, the reason most of these photos that you see on the internet look so damn familiar is because they are. Let's take this example of the hotel lobby. While I'm sure you haven't seen this exact hotel lobby in your lifetime, you've definitely seen textured carpet like this before, as they are a popular staple amongst movie theaters. This rock path is just that, a rock path. Something super common to see if you've ever taken a step outside, especially at amusement parks like Disneyland, which love to use this kind of decor all the time. That spiral staircase is also something that I'm sure you've seen outside in an apartment area around you. The reason this picture is so unsettling to you though, is because when all of these qualities from unrelated things come together and mash up, it becomes one big question mark of a picture. Why does this lobby have movie theater carpet with bricks on the wall, an outside spiral staircase, and stone paths with plants inside of it? This is the thoughts that your brain is trying to make subconsciously, and all these features just don't go well together in this specific setting, and what we end up having is a photo that has tons of similar attributes, but as a whole is almost completely unrecognizable. I also attribute that sense of familiarity when looking at photos like this to our dreams. It's not uncommon to have a dream where a bunch of random characteristics show up in the same exact room. Night after night, seeing random objects like plastic tables and movie theater carpet appear in random locations, it's got to be somewhat ingrained in our minds that these locations do exist, but seeing them in person makes us feel like we are in a dreamlike state. And honestly, I find that super interesting. It's the little things like this that make us human. Liminal spaces tackle our biggest fear, which is the unknown. Humans hate change because of that. We don't know when change will happen and we don't welcome it. Seeing spaces like this remind our subconscious that sometimes life doesn't have an explanation for us. The world is a large, confusing, and mysterious place, and much like the people around us, these liminal spaces come and go, helping us transition into the next stage of life, helping us to find comfort in the unknown. Or maybe these spaces exist to remind us that life is sometimes just unexplainable. The next time you see one of these spaces in real life, whether it be on your phone just before bed or on a late night drive with your friends. Remember that sometimes all it takes to understand life just that much more is to take a deeper look into these strange phenomena. If you enjoyed today's video and want to watch more just like this one, check out my other videos that I will have linked in the outro. If you just finished watching this and want a good laugh, not an existential crisis, check out my friends' comedy gaming channels. The first link in the description will link to a channel called Super Smash Bros, which one of my friends runs, where him and his friend just get drunk and have a good ass time playing video games. Expect to see a lot of funny edits, commentary, and just random funny moments that happen between the two of them. Second channel that will be linked is called Late Night Filler. Expect to see the same style of edits on this one, but these videos perfectly capture those random funny moments you have playing just any game with your friends.
No, you need that's not a fucking flashlight, that's a head camera. Oh my god. This is gonna be hella gamer as fuck.
Go show my boys some love and go watch their videos, and also let me know in the comments if you want me to explore other obscure concepts like the one I talked about today. With all of that said, I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.